Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You don't wake because of light. There is none. You wake because of the smell. Charred wood smoke hangs thick in the air, mixing with the sour tang of old wine and the sweet, cloying rot of yesterday's sweat. Somewhere underneath it all, wax from the candle stub you forgot to put out, a trace of dried blood, and the heavy warmth of a body beside you, bare, unwashed, and breathing slow. It's still night, technically, though a faint gray glow filters through the split in the wooden shutters. The air in the room is cold and close, shared by 5 other girls curled beneath rough blankets or bits of old clothing. Someone turns over beside you with a groan. Someone else coughs, wet and low. Josephine again. You lie there for a moment longer, face buried in the crook of your arm, trying to will your body back into stillness. But the world is already moving. Downstairs, you hear the scrape of a stool being dragged across stone and the low mumble of the firewoman tending to the embers. She'll be setting the pot on soon. Porridge, if you're lucky. If not, the bitter black root soup they make when flour runs thin. Your own stomach growls. It always does. First thing. It's a good sign. The day you wake without hunger is the day they'll carry you out. You sit up, careful not to disturb Lily, who's pressed against your back like a kitten. She's younger, maybe 16, maybe less. She never says. Her hair smells of soap, the cheap kind with too much lye, but it's better than most. You slide away, tiptoe past the pile of chamber pots near the door, and cross the room barefoot, feeling each splinter of the warped floorboards beneath your feet. In the washroom, if you can call it that, you ladle cold water from a cracked basin and press it to your face. It burns your skin awake. There's no soap left today, only a scrap of linen to rub at your arms, your neck, between your legs. The water comes away streaked gray. You pour it back into the bucket anyway. Water is paid by the pail, and you're already behind. You dress quickly. Undershift, stockings, the rough brown skirt that doesn't quite fit. The laces on the bodice are fraying. You'll have to pay Betsy, the washer girl, to mend them again, and hope she doesn't ask for more than a heel of bread. Your boots are still damp from yesterday's storm. No time to dry them. No place to leave them where they won't get stolen. Your name is scribbled on the chalkboard outside the dormitory door. That means you're on early duties. Fire tending, sweeping, bread line. Your feet move on their own, taking the turn down the back stair into the kitchen. The room is warm, at least, and smells faintly of yeast. A single candle burns near the oven. The flames make the soot on the walls shimmer like ink. You ladle porridge into 6 wooden bowls. It's thinner than usual, barely more than warm water and oats, but you still carry them carefully up the stairs, 2 at a time. The other girls are stirring now. Sarah is muttering curses. Josephine hasn't moved. Her cough is worse today. You place her bowl on the small stool beside her pallet. She doesn't even glance up. Just says hoarsely, "Tell them I'll come down in a minute." You nod, though you know she won't. At the table, you sit beside Margaret, who's slicing a bruised apple into thin pieces with a butter knife. She slides a few your way. No one talks much in the morning. It's the quietest time of day, before the bells ring and the men arrive. Barbell's name is gone from the roster, scrubbed clean. She was sent to Ulm last week. Too much talking, they said. Too much kindness. That's always the risk, isn't it? Margaret leans close and whispers, "Lily bled through again last night." Barbara saw. You glance toward the girl, still quiet, Still curled under her sheet. She'll have to work anyway, Margaret adds. They're watching her. You nod once. No one says more. Downstairs, the sound of keys, the front door bolt being drawn. That's your cue. You stand, wipe your hands on your skirt, and head for the front parlor. Lionheart is there, already counting coins, lips pursed around a toothpick. He doesn't look up as you pass. Barbara is beside him, arranging cards and pins on the appointment board. You see your name, twice today. Be ready by midday, she says, without turning, and clean. The man asked for someone fresh. You don't answer. You just nod again, the way you've learned. Outside, through the warped window glass, the sun is barely beginning to rise, pale gold catching on the soot-dark roofs of Nordlingen. Somewhere in the distance, a church bell rings the hour, but it's not for you. You haven't heard Mass in months. None of you have. You return to your room, find your kerchief, your scented sachet, lavender and rosemary, what's left of it, and tuck it into your bodice. The room smells of damp and flesh. You take a breath anyway. This is how the day begins. With silence, with cold feet and thin porridge and names on a board. With the knowledge that your body is owed, again, and your soul isn't even counted. But you're still here, still breathing, still remembering. The hallway creaks beneath your steps as you carry the empty bowls back to the kitchen. The air is warmer now, slightly, but heavy too, thick with a kind of weighting. It sits on your shoulders like wet cloth. You're not sure if it's the weather or just the mood of the house. Everyone's tense. No one says why. But you know. You all do. You place the bowls on the side table and wipe them out with a damp rag, watching a drop of porridge trail down the wood like a snail. Behind you, the house hums faintly, floorboards groaning, whispers slipping through door cracks, a clatter of boots as Sarah hurries down to polish the front room. Margaret's footsteps come slower, dragging a mop. Her ankle's been sore for days, but she won't say so out loud. That's how things get noticed. Barbara appears in the doorway, face stiff, fingers tapping against her waist. Margaret, she says sharply, you're listed for a midday. Make sure your skirt isn't muddy this time. Then to you, clean the basin rooms upstairs and tidy the red parlor. There's a guest coming by early, someone from the town watch. Your stomach drops a little, but you nod. You're good at nodding. Upstairs again, bucket in hand, you step into the red parlor. It's dim, curtained, and smells of wax and old sweat. Someone forgot to empty the basin last night. The water inside is clouded pink. A rag floats at the surface like a drowned bird. You pour it out the window, careful not to splash the sill, and refill it from the rain barrel down the back stairs. Cold water splashes your wrist. You flinch, but say nothing. Cleaning isn't hard. It just takes a kind of slow rhythm. Wipe, wring, repeat. You hum softly to keep your mind still. A lullaby, maybe, or something your mother used to hum when she washed your hair. You can't remember the words anymore, just the shape of the tune. In the hallway, Lily tiptoes past, holding her shift close to her chest. You call to her softly, and she pauses. Her eyes are red. She saw, she whispers. You already know who she means. Barbara. She said I'd work this afternoon, even though I told her I'm still bleeding. Her voice breaks. She doesn't cry, just shakes. You reach into your pocket, take out a square of cloth, clean enough, and fold it into her palm. She looks down at it like it's made of gold. Thank you, she breathes. You nod and tell her to go rest before her name gets called. She hurries off, clutching the cloth like a relic. That's how kindness works in this place. Quiet and small. Nothing too grand, nothing too loud. Just enough to remind someone they're still human. Back in the red parlor, you finish smoothing the bed linens and check the candle stock. One left, stubby and cracked. You tuck it into the drawer and mark it in the book. Barbara checks the numbers daily, and missing wax means questions. Questions lead to punishment. Midday bells ring from outside, sharp and clear. Lunch is bread today, crusty and hard. 1 slice per girl, served with bitter ale so thin it tastes like water. No cheese, no butter. But it's something. You eat slowly, trying to make it last. Josephine isn't at the table again. No one asks. Margaret leans toward you and murmurs, "Have you heard? They say Barbel's in Ulm now, but she's not working." You raise an eyebrow. Not working means either she's dead, or she talked. "Lionheart was shouting last night," she adds. "Said he's tired of girls with loose tongues. That we need to remember our place." You swallow hard. The bread is suddenly harder to chew. That's when you notice the men, 2 of them, walking up the path to the brothel's door. Not customers, officials. You know that shape, that posture. One tall, one round, both in city coats. You glance at Margaret. She's already seen them too. Barbara opens the door, all sugar and bows, leads them into the office, shuts the door behind her. The silence after is deafening. You don't dare move. A minute passes, then 5. Then the door opens again, and the men leave, quickly, wordlessly. And that's when everything breaks. You hear it before you see it. The heavy stomp of boots, the sudden crash of a stool, a shriek. You run to the hallway in time to see Lionheart grabbing Els by the arm, dragging her from the supper bench. She's yelling, no, roaring, something guttural and defiant, words like fire on her tongue. "You'll have to cut off my arms and legs before you stop me." He slaps her, hard. You freeze, heart pounding, feet rooted to the floor. No one moves. Margaret stands beside you, trembling. Barbara screams something, inaudible, but no one answers. Lionheart raises his belt. Els spits blood on the floor and stares up at him with a smile so fierce it makes your throat ache. Then, just like that, it stops. He drops the belt, leaves the room. Els doesn't cry. She just straightens her back, wobbles a little, and walks back to her seat. The room stays silent. Even the fire seems to dim. Later, you bring her a rag and a crust of bread. She takes both without a word. There's a bruise blooming beneath her eye, deep purple already. That evening, Barbara pretends nothing happened. She lists the assignments for tomorrow, passes around the linen list, checks the candle drawer. Elsa's name is gone from the board. No one says anything. You retreat to your shared room and sit beside Lily, brushing her hair with slow strokes. She's shaking again. "Will she be okay?" she asks. You lie. Yes. But you wonder. You lie down later that night, staring at the cracked beams overhead, and listen to the sounds of the house settling. Whispers, creaks, a cough that won't stop. You think of Els, of Barbel, of that look on Margaret's face. You think of how quiet the house has become, like everyone is holding their breath. And you wonder what will happen next. The morning after the shouting, the air feels sharper, like every word not spoken yesterday has soaked into the walls overnight and turned into splinters. You step quietly as you rise, as if the floorboards might betray you. There's no sunlight yet, just that soft, pale glow that comes before dawn and makes everything look a little blurred. like the world itself hasn't decided whether to wake or not. The other girls are slow to stir. Lily turns in her sleep, murmuring something about her mother. Josephine doesn't move. Her breath comes shallow, with a rasp at the end like torn cloth. You touch her shoulder gently. She flinches but doesn't open her eyes. There's no list on the board today. Barbara hasn't updated the names. That never happens. You wash quickly, teeth chattering as you pour cold water from the jug over your arms. You rub hard, not to clean, really, but to feel something. Your wrists sting where last night's nerves settled in. You wrap a strip of linen around one ankle, just habit. You can't remember when it started. Downstairs, the red parlor smells of stale ale and lavender oil, a bad mix. You open the window a crack to let the night out, but it doesn't want to go. It clings to the curtains, to the walls, to the cushion seams. You shake the bed sheets. A coin falls out. Not yours. You pocket it anyway. There's no breakfast yet either. Betsy, the girl who runs kitchen fires, is nowhere to be seen. You think she might be hiding. You don't blame her. Everyone is waiting. For something. For the other shoe to drop. For the next scream, maybe. You go to check the appointment board and see your name again. Twice. One in the afternoon, one in the evening. Both are anonymous. Just G and R. Some men don't like their names known. Others can't spell. It makes no difference. You grab a cloth and go to clean the front parlor. The room always needs polishing after nights like this. Furniture shoved out of place. Spills left to dry. Ash scattered from overturned hearth buckets. There's a teacup on the floor, cracked along the rim. Someone must have dropped it when Lionheart lost his temper. You gather the pieces slowly, fingers careful not to press too hard on the sharp edge. One cut, and you're out of work until it heals. And you still owe for last week's linen. Margaret joins you, mop in hand, and neither of you speak. Just a nod. That's enough. You both know the rhythm by now. Did you see her? She whispers eventually, voice barely audible over the wet squelch of the mop. You nod. She was bleeding. I brought her a rag. She didn't cry. No. Margaret keeps mopping. I heard something. You wait. She's going to leave. They're letting her go. You stop wiping the table. Your hand stills on a streak of wax. She made a deal, Margaret says. They said if she keeps quiet, they'll wipe her debt and let her leave before sundown. You turn the words over in your head like stones. Smooth, hard, impossible. They never let anyone leave, you say. Not unless they're too broken to work. Or dead. She shrugs. Maybe they think she'll stay quiet. You don't answer. Instead, you look out the window. The sky's gone a little pink. A hint of spring, maybe. The kind that never quite arrives. In the hallway, footsteps. Barbara's. Fast, sharp. Where's Els? She demands. You and Margaret exchange a glance. She was in the washroom. You lie. Barbara clicks her tongue, spins, storms up the stairs. A beat. Then Margaret grabs your hand, squeezes once. She's already gone, she whispers. She left last night, and suddenly it all makes sense. The silence, the missing names, the tension folded into every breath. Barbara's fury is not about control. It's about the loss of it. You go about the rest of the morning pretending nothing is different. But it is. Lionheart doesn't show his face. Barbara's voice is sharp enough for two. She assigns chores without looking anyone in the eye. She changes your afternoon appointment to someone else and doesn't say why. At lunch, the bread is dry and the water has a strange taste. You sip it anyway. Lily doesn't come down. Neither does Josephine. You sneak half your crust into a cloth and carry it upstairs. Lily's asleep, brow furrowed, arms curled tight to her chest. You tuck the bread beside her and adjust her blanket. It smells faintly of rosemary, probably from your sachet. The scent lingers like memory. Josephine is awake, but barely. She's curled on her side, lips cracked, hands trembling. You sit beside her without asking. "I dreamed of the sea," she murmurs. "You've never seen it, you say." "I know, but I dreamed it." You reach for the tin cup beside her bed and fetch water from the jug. "Drink." She does. Slowly. "Is it true?" she asks. "About elves?" You nod. Josephine closes her eyes. "Good," she whispers. "Someone got out." You hold her hand a little longer than you need to. Later that day, as you wash linens by the pump, a merchant's cart clatters past the alley. You glance up just in time to see a girl in a brown shawl sitting at the back, facing away. You can't be sure, but you want to believe it's her, that she made it, that she's moving forward, away from this house, from the belt, from the stains on the floor that never quite come out. You don't wave, you just turn back to the water and scrub harder, because the dream isn't yours, but you carry it anyway. By mid-afternoon, the house breathes differently. Not louder, just tighter, like someone's tied a string around every beam and doorframe, pulling inwards. The walls feel closer, the air more watchful. Word travels fast in places like this, even when no one says it out loud. Els is gone. Really gone. No one's seen her. No sign of her shift in the wash, her boots by the door, her scent on the upstairs bed. She left nothing behind but silence, and somehow, that silence makes more noise than a scream. You keep your head down. You polish the handles on the staircase with vinegar and cloth, fingers moving in circles. Margaret is in the hallway, straightening portraits that always tilt. Neither of you talks about it, but others do. Customers. Two men in the front room murmur with their backs turned, voices thick with speculation. The blonde one, she's not around anymore. Heard she ran off. She was the one with the bruise, wasn't she? And the baby must have been someone important's bastard. Barbara passes by and their conversation cuts short. She smiles tightly at them, the way she always does, lips pressed, not quite touching teeth. You wonder if she knows how visible her unease has become. She's been pacing all day, rearranging nothing, opening and closing drawers, asking for candles, though there are plenty. You serve watered ale to one of the men. His breath smells of garlic and overcooked onions. He grabs your wrist when you set the mug down and says, "You don't look like you'll run off." You smile, because that's what's expected. But your hand trembles all the way back to the kitchen. In the storage room, you find Lily curled on a pile of old grain sacks. She's holding a length of red thread in her fingers, twisting it slowly. Her face is pale. There's a smear of dried blood on the inside of her thigh. "She made me work again," she whispers. Even like this, you kneel beside her, brush a strand of hair behind her ear. "It's almost over," you murmur. "For the day? For the bleeding?" She shakes her head. "No. For me. I can feel it." You don't say the truth, though it's heavy in your chest. The girls who feel it coming usually aren't wrong. They fade like candle ends, quiet, unnoticed, and fast. No one screams. No one makes scenes. They just get smaller and smaller until one morning, they don't wake. You stay with her a few minutes more, pressing your palm to her back until her breath evens. Then you help her up, smooth her skirt, and guide her toward her bed. At supper, the tension sharpens. Lionheart returns. He says nothing, just sits in his usual chair at the corner of the long table, eating soup with his sleeves rolled up and his belt visible on the bench beside him. A silent warning, a reminder. No one meets his gaze. Barbara talks enough for both of them, reading out new rules like scripture. Starting tomorrow, all appointments must be confirmed the night before. No more confusion, no more switching rooms. And if you're assigned a guest, you will serve them. No refusals. Margaret mutters something under her breath. Lionheart looks up. You hold your breath, but nothing happens, just a long stare. Then soup again. After the meal, you help with dishes, standing at the basin with your arms elbow deep in greasy water. The plates are chipped, the spoons bent. One of the bowls cracks in your hands and slices your finger. You suck the blood away quickly, hide your hand in your apron, and keep going. There's no room for weakness. By candlelight, you iron shifts. Betsy sits beside you, darning stockings. The fire is low but warm. This is the closest you get to peace in a day. Simple, repetitive work. Your mind drifts. You think of the baby, the one no one talks about, the one Barbell saw, laid out on the bench beside Els, still and silent. 20 weeks, they said. Small enough to hide, big enough to mourn. You remember the way Elsa's face looked that night, gray, distant, but clear, not broken, just past the point of breaking. Do you think she's safe? Betsy asks suddenly. You blink. Els? She nods, wherever she went. I hope so, you say. Betsy smiles without showing her teeth. Me too. Upstairs, you pass Josephine's bed. She's asleep, breath rattling softly. Someone's placed a small posy of lavender under her pillow. Probably Margaret. You wonder if Josephine notices. You wonder if it matters. Lily is awake, sitting up, staring at the candle stub on the wall. I heard them, she says. 2 men talking about me, like I wasn't real. You sit beside her. I'm scared I'll forget who I was, she says. You squeeze her hand. They call us by numbers now. Did you hear? Barbara's got a new list. You hadn't, but it doesn't surprise you. It's easier that way. No names, no pasts, no burdens, just bodies. But you remember your name? You say it, softly, in your mind. Like a prayer, like a seed you won't let die. Outside, the wind rises. You hear the shutters groan. Rain is coming again. You blow out the candle, slide beneath your blanket, feel the ache in your limbs, the sting in your cut finger, the dull pressure behind your eyes. Els is gone. Josephine is fading. Lily is trembling. But you are still here, and that, somehow, feels like a kind of defiance. The rain starts just before dawn, soft at first, just a whisper on the slate tiles, but quickly growing into a steady rhythm that rattles the wooden window slats and slides down the warped beams like spilled soup. You wake to it, curled on your side, your fingers wrapped around the edge of the thin blanket. The air feels damp before you even move. Your knees ache. Your eyes burn. The house is still mostly quiet. Someone in the next bed is snoring softly. Someone else turns over with a grunt. You think it's Sarah. Josephine wheezes in her sleep, a long, whistling breath that seems to catch every few seconds. You hear it so often now, you barely register it. You sit up slowly, bones stiff from cold. The roof leaked again. Your shift is damp at the shoulder. You hang it over the iron bar above the stove and pull on your skirt instead, the one with the hem half unraveled. You've been meaning to sew it. You never seem to get around to it. By the time you make it to the parlor, the rain has turned the yard into a swamp of mud and soggy straw. Margaret is wringing out a cloth by the door. She gives you a look, something between weariness and warning, and gestures toward the appointment board. Your name is back. First up today. You nod without speaking and walk to the basin in the corner, where a chipped mirror leans against the wall. Your reflection looks tired. Not just tired, but worn. Not bruised exactly, though the shadows under your eyes could be mistaken for it. But something deeper. Like the face you wear is starting to slip, revealing the skin underneath. Rough, thin, unguarded. You wash with cold water. There's no heat left in the stove pot. The chill bites your cheeks. You rub them with the flat of your palms until some color comes back, then pinch your lips, smooth your eyebrows, and wrap a kerchief around your hair. From the drawer, you take the small sachet of crushed rosemary and lavender, barely fragrant anymore, and tuck it into your bodice. A practiced movement. You don't remember who first showed you that trick. Maybe Barbell. Maybe Josephine, back when she still worked upstairs. The knock on the outer door comes early. You move without thinking. Open the front. Step back. Bow your head. The man is older in the way some men are. Gray at the temples, but still thick around the middle. He smells of oil and wet leather. His boots leave muddy streaks across the floorboards. He doesn't speak much. Just looks you over and nods toward the stairs. You lead him up, not the red parlor. Barbara said that room's being cleaned, but the small one at the back, where the window never quite shuts and the mattress always tilts to one side. You light a candle, close the shutters, set out the bottle of thin wine and the cloth to clean up after. He doesn't ask your name. Most don't. What happens next is routine. You've done it so many times your mind slips away, floats above the room. You count the nails in the ceiling beam. You study the water stain near the corner. You try to remember the sound of your father's laugh. When he's finished, he leaves a coin on the dresser, less than usual, and wipes his hands on your skirt. You don't flinch, just nod, adjust your shift, and see him out. Back in the hallway, the world feels quieter somehow. Still. You lean against the wall and breathe through your nose. You're still bleeding. Lightly, but enough to know. Enough that it matters. You weren't given extra food today, though that's supposed to be the rule. Bread and cheese on bleeding days. But the bread's gone, and the cheese was moldy 2 days ago. You drank tea instead. The kind Barbara brews from bitter herbs and calls medicine. It coats your throat like ash. Downstairs, you find Margaret sewing buttons onto a dress that doesn't belong to either of you. Probably Lily's. The buttons don't match. She didn't eat, Margaret says, not looking up. You know who she means. She said the bread made her stomach turn. Said it was sweet. You pause. Sweet bread? That's not normal. Not for here. Your hands tighten around the mug you're holding. Sweetness, in this house, usually means mold. Or worse. She'll get sick, you murmur. She already is, Margaret says softly. In the next room, you hear Barbara yelling. Not angry, but sharp, choppy. She's scolding Betsy for something. Maybe a miscounted towel or a missed bottle of oil. The kind of rage that comes from fear, not control. You recognize it now. Ever since Els disappeared, Barbara's been walking on a thread. And Lionheart? Well, he hasn't said a word in days. Just stalks through the house, eyes like flint, chewing the inside of his cheek. You've seen him do that before, when things are about to snap. By midday, the rain slows. You carry clean towels to the bathroom. Not for bathing, of course. You haven't had a real bath in weeks. But for mopping up, for wiping off, for pretending. In the hallway, you cross paths with Josephine. She's trying to carry a bucket of water, but her arms shake so badly she can barely keep it from spilling. You take it from her without a word. She doesn't fight you. just leans against the wall, breath shallow, eyes glassy. She shouldn't be working, you say to no one in particular, but no one listens. At dusk, a guest comes in. Drunk, red-faced, loud, he slaps Lionheart on the back, says something crude about fresh meat, then stumbles up the stairs with one of the newer girls whose name you haven't learned yet. She can't be more than 15. You watch her walk, shoulders square, face blank. You wonder if she's still bleeding too. Later, after supper, you sit near the hearth and warm your feet. Someone left a blanket there. Wool, scratchy, but welcome. You wrap it around your shoulders and let your mind wander. You think about the way Els screamed in the dining room that night, about the way her voice filled the entire house, about how no one shouted back, about how the silence afterward felt like thunder. And then you think about the quiet, the kind you carry inside you, the kind you dare not speak but never stop feeling. It's still raining outside. You close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of it on the roof, steady and soft, like a lullaby, like breath. You don't cry, you don't sleep, but you are still here. The rain slows to a whisper sometime during the night, just enough that by morning the air feels thick and metallic, like breathing through damp linen. You wake before the others again, the ache in your lower back already present, dull but persistent. Your body tells you more than any clock. It says today will be long. It says your bleeding hasn't stopped. Downstairs, the house is already stirring. You hear the scrape of a bucket across stone, the cough of someone trying not to cough, and the unmistakable rhythm of Barbara's heels tapping down the corridor, controlled, sharp, louder than they need to be. You pull on your shift and skirt, brush your fingers through your hair, and knot it quickly. Your hands move like they belong to someone else, someone who isn't tired, someone who didn't dream of blood on the stairs. In the front parlor, Margaret is arranging the day's ledger. She looks up when you enter and gives the smallest shake of her head. No new news, no new names, but something is off. You feel it in the way she doesn't sit after she finishes, in how she lingers, straightens things twice. Her eyes flick toward the hall. You follow her gaze. 2 city officials stand in the front doorway, soaked cloaks draped over their arms. They're not smiling. One of them carries a leather satchel, the other a ledger book thick with folded papers. You freeze halfway across the floor, fingers clenched around a tray of empty glasses. Barbara greets them with practiced ease, but her voice is too high. "Gentlemen, so good to see you. You'll be wanting tea?" The shorter one, balding, eyes like marbles, shakes his head. "We'll be needing to speak with everyone. Privately?" Barbara stiffens just for a second. Then, "Of course. Shall I prepare the back parlor?" The man nods once. "Please, and send word for the girls one by one. You slip into the kitchen before they notice you." Inside, Margaret leans against the wall, her arms crossed, lips pressed thin. "They're here for her," she whispers. "Els?" She nods. You feel your heart knock hard against your ribs. You'd almost stopped believing it would come to this. A moment later, Lily appears in the doorway. Her face is pale, her eyes wide. "They're asking for me," she says. You touch her arm. "Just tell the truth." She swallows. "Which part?" You don't have an answer. Over the next hour, the house becomes something else. Quiet, but alert, like a beast pretending to sleep. One by one, the girls are called to the back parlor. One by one, they return, eyes distant, lips sealed. No one says what they were asked. No one says what they said. When your turn comes, Barbara barely looks at you. She just gestures down the hall. The back parlor is darker than usual. One candle burns low, casting long shadows on the warped wooden table. The two men sit on either side, notebooks open. They ask you your name, how long you've been here, what your duties are. Their questions start soft, routine, administrative. Then they shift. Did you witness a violent incident involving the keeper, Lionheart Freyamat, and a girl named Els von Estet? Yes. Did you see injuries? Yes. Did you hear threats? Yes. Your voice doesn't shake. Not once. Did you witness the child? You blink. They wait. I didn't see it, you say quietly. But I saw her after. I saw the blood. I saw her pain. The older official nods slowly. Do you believe the miscarriage was intentional? You hesitate. Not because you don't know, but because saying it aloud feels like cutting something open. She told me Barbara gave her something. A drink. It smelled like vinegar and herbs. She said she felt sick almost immediately. The men exchange a glance. You expect them to ask more. They don't. They thank you, dismiss you. You step back into the hallway as the door closes behind you. Margaret is waiting. She told them everything, you say. She had to, Margaret replies. That evening, Lionheart is gone. No warning, no farewells, just vanished. Barbara tries to keep up appearances. She calls the roster like always, snaps at the girls for slouching, scolds Betsy for using too much soap. But her eyes dart constantly toward the windows. She checks the ledger 3 times. She burns her hand on the stove and doesn't curse, doesn't even cry out, just hisses between her teeth and keeps moving. After dinner, word begins to spread. He's been barred from the city. And Barbara is next. You hear it from Anna, who heard it from one of the kitchen boys. The city plans to mark her. The iron is already being heated. The branding tool shaped like a woman's hand, curled in accusation. You don't feel joy, not exactly, just relief, like an iron ring loosening from your ribs. That night, no one talks much. The dining room is quiet. Even the fire burns softer. Lily sits beside you, still as a shadow. They'll mark her? She asks. Yes. Where? Her forehead. She goes quiet again. A few moments pass. Then, will it hurt? Yes. Another pause. Will anyone remember? You turn toward her. I will, you say. The candle burns lower. You pull your shawl tighter. From the stairs, you hear Josephine cough again. It rattles deep, the kind of sound that doesn't come back clean. You think of Els, of the bench, of the tiny body wrapped in cloth, of the scream in the dining room, of the quiet that followed. You think of how no one believed it would matter. And then you think of this day, this moment, this iron truth glowing in the fire. And you know it does. It matters. You matter. And you're not the only one left who remembers. The iron branding happens in the courtyard behind the butcher's stall, where the stones are always wet and the smell of blood never quite leaves. You don't see it. None of you do. But you hear the stories that arrive by whispers, by shaky mouths and darting eyes. That the iron hissed like a kettle, that Barbara didn't scream, that she laughed instead, or maybe cried so quietly it sounded like laughter. No one can agree. What you do know is this: she doesn't come back. By the time the sun dips below the rooftops that evening, her room is empty. Her perfume bottle still sits on the windowsill, half full and uncorked. A smear of her lipstick remains on the mirror's edge. Someone, probably Margaret, sweeps the floor without being asked. No one speaks while she does it. With Lionheart gone and Barbara marked, the house begins to shift. Not quickly, not kindly, but something changes in the air. like a rope has gone slack after being pulled too tight for too long. The city posts 2 new officials to oversee the brothel in the meantime, old men in gray coats who walk with ledgers in hand and rarely speak above a whisper. They don't hit anyone. They don't smile either. The first rule they post is this: no more working during a girl's bleeding days. You read it twice. Margaret laughs under her breath when she sees your face. "We'll see how long that lasts," she says, folding linens. But it does last, at least for now. And that's something. You get your skirt back, the one you were made to rent every week, the faded blue one with the stitched hem your sister made before you were sold here. You don't ask how they found it. It's left on your cot one morning, folded neatly. A note pinned to it. Claimed. No charge. You don't cry. You think you might, but when your hands touch the cloth, all you feel is a strange kind of stillness. Like part of yourself has returned, and you didn't know it was missing until it arrived. Josephine is still ill. She hasn't risen from bed in 2 days. You bring her soup, help her sit up. She tries to eat, but her mouth trembles and she spills half of it on her shift. "It's too sweet," she mutters, coughing. "It's the carrots," you lie. "Just the carrots." Her eyes flick toward yours. She knows it isn't, but she smiles anyway. Lily helps you wash the bedding. Her hands are red from scrubbing. She hums as she works, tuneless, soft, the way your mother used to hum while weaving. You don't ask her the song. She doesn't offer it. Outside, the first frost clings to the window panes in patterns like spider webs. The girls joke that it's lace. You trace the designs with your finger when no one's looking, imagining they're sewn into a shawl or a wedding veil. One evening, the door opens and a new girl arrives. She's small, thin in the way that comes from skipping too many meals, and her eyes are the color of old tea. She doesn't give a name, just stands in the doorway, holding a small bundle wrapped in cloth. The officials tell you to show her around. You do. Not because they asked, but because someone has to. You lead her through the hallways, show her the basin room, the red parlor, the storeroom where the better soaps are kept. You tell her which chair creaks the loudest and where to hide crusts for the mice if she wants to keep them away from the linen. She listens without nodding, says nothing. Finally, in the sleeping room, you point to the empty cot at the end. "This one's hers," you say. She doesn't sit, just places her bundle on the mattress and asks, voice flat, "Do they hurt you here?" You pause, then answer carefully, "They don't have to anymore." She nods, says, "That's better than most." You sit with her for a while, say nothing. Sometimes that's all a person needs. The next morning, Margaret brings a letter to the table. It's addressed to the girls of the house on Binderstrasse. No one claims it. It's from the city, of course. The letter says the brothel will remain under city supervision for the time being, that additional food and linens will be provided during holy days, that a new bathhouse, funded by taxes, will be constructed in spring. You pass the page around. Some girls scoff, some blink at it like it's written in another language. "Maybe they think this makes it better," Sarah mutters. "It doesn't," Lily says. You agree with both of them. Later that night, you go out to the small rear yard where the laundry is hung. The wind bites through your shawl, but the sky is clear. You tilt your head back. The stars are bright tonight, bright in the kind of way that makes the dark seem almost holy. You sit on the low stone wall near the pump and listen. There are no footsteps, no shouting, just the sound of cloth rustling in the breeze and your own breath in the cold. You close your eyes and think of Els. You think of the way she screamed at Lionheart, of the bruise on her face, and the way she smiled anyway. You wonder where she is now, if she made it to another town, if she bought new boots, if anyone says her name kindly, if anyone wraps her hair at night. You open your eyes and whisper into the wind, "You were real." You say it again, for Josephine, for Barbell, for the girls who were too tired to speak, for the baby whose name was never known. You were real. The words float up, vanish into the frost. You don't need an answer. You just needed to say it. Winter creeps in without announcement. Just a slow dimming of the mornings, a dampness in the bones, a silence that thickens behind the walls. You rise before the others now, not because you must, but because your body seems to crave the stillness. The house is quieter these days. Not peaceful exactly, but muted, as though the shouting has all been bottled and stored somewhere no one dares to open. The new officials keep to themselves. They don't linger in the halls. They speak in quiet, clipped tones and carry ledgers with narrow lines and smaller handwriting. One of them, Herr Klaus, nods at you each morning when you pass in the kitchen. The gesture is not kind, but it isn't cruel either. It feels neutral. That in itself feels remarkable. Josephine does not get out of bed. Her cheeks have hollowed. Her eyes barely stay open. Her cough sounds like it's coming from inside the walls now, like the house has swallowed it. You feed her broth when she'll take it, and when she won't, you hold her hand and hum quietly until she sleeps again. She rarely speaks, but once, late one evening, when the others had gone silent, she opened her mouth and said, "Tell someone I didn't choose this. Just say I was kind. You promised. You don't know who you'll tell. But you hold the words carefully, like a scrap of ribbon or a seed pressed in cloth. You won't lose them." In the front parlor, the furniture has been rearranged. The old settee with the broken leg has been replaced. The wine stains on the rug have been covered with straw matting. There's talk of painting the walls come spring. Lily jokes it'll just be a different shade of sorrow, but she says it with a half smile. The new girl, Ina, though you're not sure if that's her real name, has begun to speak more. She asks small questions. "Where do you keep the needle and thread?" Or, "Can I take a basin upstairs?" She eats her meals in silence but lingers afterward, listening. You watch her sometimes, the way she watches everyone else, like she's drawing a map of the room with her eyes. You understand that feeling. One morning, she asks you, "What was her name?" "The girl who left." You know she means Els. You don't answer right away. Instead, you wipe your hands on your apron and look toward the window where frost clings in the corners. "Her name was Els von Estedt," you say. She wasn't the first to leave, but she was the first to make them remember her name. Ina nods. She doesn't ask more. Later that day, the midwife arrives. No one called her. She comes in through the back gate, her hands red with cold, her satchel heavy with herbs and rags. She goes upstairs without speaking, her boots wetting the stairs behind her. You know where she's going. Josephine, you follow only once. You knock lightly, and the midwife's face appears in the doorframe, drawn, tired. "She has a fever," the woman says. You nod. "I've done what I can, but she's already halfway through." Your breath catches. "Through what?" The woman doesn't answer. She closes the door behind her. That night, you can't sleep. The bedsheet sticks to your legs with sweat, and the draft through the window never quite stills. You lie there listening, first to the wind, then to nothing, then to something faint, a creak, A soft step. A moan. You rise. In the hallway, the candlelight flickers. You move toward Josephine's room and pause at the threshold. Margaret is already there. She's sitting beside the bed, Josephine's hand folded between both of hers. Her face is calm, not crying, just watching, holding vigil. You sit beside her. The three of you remain that way until morning. When the sun rises, if you can call it that, behind the thick fog, Josephine is gone. The officials let you wash her body yourselves. They offer to call someone from the city, but you shake your head. You don't want strangers touching her. You bathe her gently, comb her hair, wrap her in the cleanest linen you can find. Lily brings a sprig of rosemary. Ina offers her only shawl. You bury her near the pump in the back courtyard, beside the crooked apple tree that never bears fruit. No stone, just a ring of smooth river rocks placed in a circle. You do not cry during the burial. None of you do. But that night, when the fire has burned down and the air in the sleeping room feels too thin, you press your face into your pillow and whisper, "She was kind." It's enough. You hope it is. The next few days pass slowly. Appointments continue. Dishes must be washed, sheets changed. The rhythm remains the same, but it feels softer somehow, less forced. No one hits you anymore. No one raises their voice unless absolutely necessary. The new girl sews a patch onto your skirt where the hem began to fray again. You thank her. She just nods. That evening, Margaret sets a loaf of bread on the table and slices it into even pieces. She saves one extra, wraps it in a cloth, and places it beside the hearth. "For her," she says. Lily adds a candle beside it. No one lights it. You all sit around it in silence, listening to the logs crack. After a while, Ina clears her throat. "Do you think anyone will remember us?" she asks. You look around the room. At the faces you've come to know by heartbeat and breath, by soft gestures and whispered jokes. You think of the stories buried with the girls who never got names. And then you say, softly, but certain, "I think we will." The snow comes early that year. By the start of Advent, the rooftops of Nordlingen wear soft white caps, and the alley behind the brothel crunches underfoot. Inside, the house is warmer than it has ever been. The city provided extra firewood as promised. There's more bread, too, coarser than before, but plentiful. The broth has flavor. The candles last longer. These small things feel strange, almost suspicious, like someone upstairs is trying too hard to make amends for something they won't name aloud. You find yourself smiling more often, but always in private. At the way Lily hums now without noticing. At the way Ina teases Margaret gently while folding linens. At how you've stopped counting the bruises on your arms, because there are none to count. You still have appointments, of course. That part doesn't change. But the air in the house has. It isn't so sharp, so tight, so full of unsaid things. Girls are allowed to rest when they bleed, allowed to refuse men who are too drunk, too rough, too cruel. The ledgers still exist. The city still profits. But the edges are duller now. The blade no longer pressed to the skin every hour of the day. On St. Nicholas Eve, you help decorate the front parlor. Someone brings paper stars from the market, delicate things folded with precision. You hang them in the windows. That night, as snow begins to fall again, you sit with Margaret and Lily beside the hearth, each of you holding a small cup of warm cider. Someone hums a carol. Someone else hums along. Josephine's candle still sits beside the bread, unlit. But it's always there. You've begun to dream again, not of escape, exactly, but of quiet mornings, of sitting by a window with tea in your hands, of hearing your name spoken gently. You don't rush toward these dreams. You let them come slowly, like thaw. And sometimes, late at night, you lie in bed and trace the old marks on your skin, faded now, and whisper the names you've promised not to forget. Els, Barbell, Josephine, and yourself. You are still here. You are still breathing. And you are not nothing. The house settles into sleep, one creak at a time. The girls have gone quiet. The fire crackles low in the hearth, shadows dancing on the walls like ghosts that never meant harm. Somewhere, a floorboard sighs under the weight of a settling roof. You lie in bed, eyes half closed, the blanket tucked up beneath your chin, and you listen, not for danger now, but for peace. It's there, faint, familiar, the soft breath of someone nearby, the flutter of snow against the shutter, the distant bell of the church you're still not allowed to enter, but whose sound wraps around you anyway like a wool shawl. You're warm, not just on the skin, but underneath it, in the place that used to feel like absence. You think of the girls beside you, behind you, before you. You think of the ones who couldn't stay, and the ones who made it out, and the ones who still whisper stories in the corners of your dreams. You think of a world that will never write your name in books, but you remember it anyway, and that makes it real. The candle flickers once, then stills. You exhale, not because you're afraid, not because you're hoping, but because, for the first time in a long time, you know that sleep will come, and when it does, it will be gentle.